This is what happens. You find yourself heading home, wondering how you got on this road in the first place. You search for meaning, but not even your favorite podcast can fill the void caused by the lack of control you have over the traffic. You finally make it home and realize that the only way to not think about doing it all again tomorrow is to do something else. The question is what? However, in the process, you find something new. Something with a proposition. You watch the trailer and suddenly you find new purpose. You have to get the word out. You have to get the band back together. You have to do the debrief. Because you finally understand that this is what happens. Okay. Everybody good?
Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to the Life and Times of the Rich and Fallen. My name is Ebube, and you are listening to Popcorn for Dinner. Today on the podcast, we are exploring a full season of yet another great Apple TV Plus show. Something that allows us to wonder whether we should be eating the rich or joining the rich. And I can assure you, everybody on this podcast wants to be rich. You would think that this specific reunion right here would be in honor of The Last of Us. But as it turns out, there's another great season of television that started airing on April 13th, 2025, which also happens to have been enjoyed by all three of us. So please join me in welcoming Chinedu and Ima. We have a lot to do today, and thankfully we didn't steal anything. Right?
As far as you know.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Oh,
great start there. Fantastic. Here we go. Oh,
it would have been nice to have someone who's shoplifted before, get their own perspective on the thrill of it. Unless one of you who...
Are you volunteering, brother? Are you putting forward your CV?
No, I'm good.
We can keep you anon. We just blow out the screen.
Man, shoplifting is a very interesting, it's actually a very interesting psychological experiment, because it takes a certain type of person to A, have the confidence to do it, B, have the lack of remorse to do it, and C, have the stealth to do it without being detected. Like, it's a very small thing, but there's a lot going on in the mind of somebody who is like stealing in broad daylight when you really think about it.
Yes. And also, most times people don't shoplift big things. They shoplift little things. And it's almost like an interesting, like you say, interesting insight into their psyche. Like, it's almost like an FU to, you almost want to back them to like the system. Like, bro, why am I paying for this? You know,
like even the show we're about to talk about, like Mel drives a Range Rover and shoplifted jam. Like jam.
You know what? Some people in this show don't have sense, but we'll get there. In any case, thank you all for joining us today. We're going to be talking about Your Friends and Neighbours, the brand new Apple TV Plus show, where Jon Hamm plays a very high-powered hedge fund executive who loses his job all of a sudden and has to figure out how to keep his life running. And as it turns out, it's not just his life, it's the life of his children, his ex-wife, and all the 3 houses he owns. Yes, he owns 3 houses. We're going to get into it, and we're sad for him in this regard, because I'm sure that it pained a certain type of viewer of this show to see this man paying for 3 houses. I know there's a certain type of person that felt it right here in the chest. But we're going to explore that. This show being produced by Apple is very interesting to me. I think they have a very high quality bar, and you know, it keeps proving itself despite the fact that people are not necessarily watching their shows as much. I think that has more to do with a lack of knowledge and awareness of the shows existing as opposed to the shows being bad, because in all honesty, their quality track record is actually fairly high. And I think something like Your Friends and Neighbours will probably get a little bit of traction because of someone like Jon Hamm and, you know, what the show is actually talking about. I think more and more people want to watch shows about, like, you know, eat the rich concepts. But also, this past Monday was WWDC 2025. WWDC, for anybody who doesn't know, is Apple's worldwide developer conference that happens every year. It is the day that they announce everything that is coming to all of their platforms in the coming year. And they have this whole new design that's coming up. It's been rumored for some time, but it's now official, and it's based on a material design called liquid glass. Yep. And funny enough, when I was watching this keynote, I noticed that the part where they were talking about tvOS, which is the OS that platforms the Apple TV, they were showing how liquid glass exists on that platform and how it would supposedly enhance the experience of the viewer. This is one of those things where it's like, guys, this is cute and all. It's probably not necessary. You should be trying to improve Siri and undoing the lies you told about Apple Intelligence. But looking at that, the show they were displaying at the time was Your Friends and Neighbours, and they were showing the scene where Coop is playing tennis with Tori and telling Nick that if he knows anyone who needs their wife slept with, he will give Nick a call. Oh my God, we're going to get to Nick. But yeah, that was interesting to see that. And a lot of people, the reason I bring it up is because a lot of people watch this keynote, actually. It's a very consumer-facing thing now. The developer conference is a full week conference, but it starts with this opening keynote on the Monday morning. And, everybody's seeing that and seeing Jon Hamm's face. If people didn't know about the show, maybe they'll know about it now. So I'd be curious to see what the uptick in viewership is for this show after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, speaking of AI, I mean, these guys have a lot to catch up on, and at this point, some of their things that they're bringing in and calling Apple Intelligence, quote unquote, feels like malware to some of my close friends.
Yo, see, that wasn't funny at all, man. That wasn't actually funny. Like,
you have a story to share?
To the listeners, just for context, just before I was about to hop on this recording, I was just about to open the app that we usually use to record, and then I just see in my list of applications, Image Playground, with some creepy ass looking cats.
Bro, it's the cat icon for me.
Logo.
I said, what is this?
Nothing about that looked legit. It looked like a creep had somehow gotten his. No, you know what? We're laughing now, but I swear, when I clicked that thing, I was so ready for my camera icon to come up.
Oh my God.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, Jesus Christ,
wow.
man. Oh, God. You cannot imagine when I opened it and then I saw enter your whatever.
What's killing me in all of this is that my guy still opened it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's killing me.
No. See, think about my thought process. My first instinct was to drag this thing to the bin 2 times. It did not work. So I said,
I said, I can't throw this bomb away. Let me just open it. Like anything that wants to happen should happen.
Oh my goodness. Please.
Crazy, man.
I don't know. Gone are the days where all of us were aware of everything coming in. Please, can they just, put an icon on?
Read your terms and conditions.
They give a heads up.
Read your terms and conditions. Read your terms and conditions. Read your release notes.
My goodness, man.
Goodness. Has this always been there, though? Like, real question. Has this actually always been there?
For about a year. They introduced Apple Intelligence in WWDC last year. It came out as a part of, iOS 18 and a bunch of other things. But there's a lot of stuff they did not deliver on. Like, they promised a lot of deep integration with like Siri and how it would be smarter and help you control apps without even having to touch them. But all they released were some writing tools, notification summaries, and this thing called Image Playground, where you can generate your own emojis. I know, amazing. So
I've been using.
You've been using
Some people think it's malware.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. God.
Your Friends and Neighbours. Very interesting title for a show. When I first saw that it was coming out, I barely even wanted to watch the trailer. I kind of saw it and I was like, okay, what is this? Oh, Jon Hamm on Apple TV.
Really?
Interesting. Yeah, no, just because like it's not because I thought it would be bad. It's because I was like, okay, I can tell what this is. You know, it's like there's a rich guy, you know, many of these shows these days, like I kid you not, and I've said this before, many shows that do well these days are literally just rich, middle-aged white guy does something bad. Like that's literally, so many shows have become that. Like Breaking Bad, considered one of the greatest shows of our time, that he wasn't rich, but he was middle-aged. And he was, So that maybe that was their own way of like breaking the mold. But yeah, like that's essentially what that show was.
Being grumpy cells.
That's essentially the entire premise of Succession. So like and these shows, they end up doing well, right? So I saw that and I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting. I will probably like this. I'll watch it whenever.
Yeah.
But then there was one night where I was just like, fine, let me just actually check this thing out now. And I ended up like just blazing through the 2 episodes because it was like the pacing was good. The storytelling style was nice. Jon Hamm's performance was fantastic as always. You know how some actors essentially, it's like they're playing themselves, right?
Yeah.
People accuse, you know, Kevin Hart of this. They accuse Dwayne Johnson of this.
The Rock.
On some level, I feel like that is what Jon Hamm does sometimes, but in a good way. It's like, I don't feel like I'm watching Jon Hamm. I feel like I'm watching Jon Hamm acting. Does that make any sense? Like, no, I feel like I'm watching Jon Hamm's performance of...
There's a class of actors I put in that mode. Like Steve Carell, to me, feels like that as well.
Yeah, it's like this person is embodying a character, but somehow I'm still aware that it's him. Yeah, if that makes any sense. It's like I feel like I'm watching a new version of Don Draper or something like that.
Yeah, I think what I told Chinedu one thing was like when I first watched the show, I was like, it's mad because like within 5 minutes, I'm just like, yeah, nobody else could play Coop apart from Jon Hamm. Like that's the feeling he gives me. That I guess he almost kind of makes you feel like every character is an extension of him. Because I was just like, that's
honestly it.
Yeah, I can't like come up with...
He's able to embody characters and actually make it not just believable, but, you know, engaging. It's like, it's not, how do I put this? You know what? What you just said is a sensible way of putting it, that it's an extension of him. Let me try and raise you. Okay, so I think on some level, it's like each of these characters is trying to be Jon Hamm.
So it's a reverse.
It's like a reverse. It's like there's a guy called Coop who is a hedgie, but he's like, you know what? Jon Hamm, I really look up to that guy. Like it's almost as if
like they got plastic surgery to look.
It's like just like the spirits. It's like Jon Hamm's spirits is in all these guys. You know, it's kind of interesting. But speaking of pacing, right? I have to say, you know, the first 20 minutes of the first episode of this show are arguably the most eventful season of TV I have seen this year.
That's why I said like, this is real TV.
My God, fam, those first 20 minutes, too much happened. And I had a few people that I introduced to this show. Like, I told them, just watch it. Here's the premise. I know it sounds very like, okay, whatever. But start watching
that monologue.
And just like fasten your seatbelts for the first 20 minutes. They're like, what are you talking about? Literally the next day I get a text saying, bro, the first 20 minutes of this show I had to stop.
Bro, how many life lessons? How many life lessons in monologue?
Bro, like, because it's one of these things, like it has this effect on you and then you're like, okay, let me try and unpack why it had that effect. Because I'm like, it was just such, like there's just so much happening. You know, a lot of times, like when you listen to like breakdowns of shows and stuff, everyone's like, show, don't tell. That kind of thing. Not too much exposition, let the audience experience. They kind of do everything, like they eat their cake and have it. They're showing you, but they're showing you really quickly, but they're still telling you everything. So like there's exposition, it's happening quickly. You're just on board because you're like, this is a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you're like, I think, doesn't it end with like Coop waking up to piss? So you're basically like as tired as he is when he's waking up at the end of that monologue. Like, okay, I can see why it will take you a long time to wake up to piss because this is a real life experience. And I'm just going to crash down.
Man doesn't want to get out of bed.
It's like, I can relate to this because, it was just like the narration. There's life lessons in it. There's plot twists in a monologue Like, it's not
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
this happened.
Yeah.
There's actual plot twists in the monologue, you know?
Yeah.
Nah, like, and the gems being dropped as well in that monologue. It's like it had literally like visuals, it had life lessons,
Bro,
it had, like you
Mate.
said,
everything.
plot twists,
Mate.
it had failures, it had disappointments, it had betrayals.
Like, they went full out for that monologue. Like, they cast young versions of the children, for God's sake.
yeah,
Like,
literally.
they literally
It
cast
just-
people just for that monologue.
Yeah, it literally just captured everything you wanted perfectly. Honestly, like just the chase and yeah, so good.
But I think
It
it's
was-
also
it was
like
pretty
a
amazing.
classic TV thing, right? Because a lot of what's it called? I know there's normally a thing they say with directing, right? Like, you want to start your scene as late as possible, where like the audience feels like a lot has happened, but you still want them to see something eventful. So it almost feels like that's where we're
Mhm.
meeting Coop. Like, we could have met Coop straight out of uni, when he's got that job and everything, and it would still be a great show. But like now, we're like, it really kind of puts you in the mindset like, yo, he's gone through all that madness. What am I in for in the next 10 episodes? Like, because whatever they're going to give you has to be better than what they said there. Because they've made a rod for their own back. You get
Oh
me?
my
Like,
god!
if this ended up being some sort of boring show, you'd now be like, yo, why didn't he live up to that monologue kind of thing? So like,
yeah,
whoever wrote that, I don't know what the process was, whether they made the show first and then went back and did that or whatever, but like, kudos to whoever put that together like that, because it's like, it's a real vote of confidence for like what they had going forward, in my opinion.
yeah, 100%.
I agree. The one thing I really liked about the show was how it was never actually predictable. Like, we've talked about how they did that in the monologue, and in all honesty, that really did a good job of setting a tone for the show itself. That, like, you could kind of say that this prelude to the real story functions as a microcosm of the way the show is structured. And, there were hints of certain things, we had to kind of keep our eyes open, and it really just woke us up. It was kind of like a snap your fingers thing of like, okay, the show is starting now. And that's kind of why it's funny that when it does actually start, we're just waking up with Coop and he's like, bruh. Like, his whole face, his eyes, is just like, bruh. Like, I don't know, man. Like, to see somebody that tired on screen, there was just something about that that was really affecting. And, well, obviously, we're talking about the whole season here, right? So we're going to be getting into specific events that happen. So if you haven't watched the season, feel free to go and come back. But at the same time, we'll try and keep certain things not too specific, just to make sure that you can actually go and experience some of those twists and turns. But I guess, having said that, let's talk a little bit about the end, right?
Yep.
What I'm gonna, how can I ask this? Okay, were there hints that, let me just say, it was Sam all along? Nobody who hasn't watched the show is going to really know what that means. But like, were there hints, or that it was her all along, or that it would be, right?
Yeah.
Like, in terms of her demeanor, the way she presented, the things she said.
I'm so glad I was texting Emmanuel while I was watching this.
So we were texting throughout, and we're like, we're both like, it has to
there's
be.
something wrong with this.
No, but we're like, it has to be her. But then I started telling Chinedu towards the end, I was like, but it's just too obvious, because like, they're not even giving us like any other potential suspect.
I said she did that shit, bro. Right from time.
Whatever they say, she did it.
But I was like, the only thing is, because Chinedu was now telling me, oh, but she has an alibi and this. But I was like, the only thing I can think of, because that's why at one point I was just like, no, it's just too obvious. Like, it can't be. Like, so
but I guess that's the thing we've seen, right? Because like with writing of this sort, if something is too obvious and you need it to be obvious for it to work, then make the way it's obvious not obvious.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
Surprising yet obvious.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because I think also, like, I don't know if you guys have watched the show Paradise, but I think I was also scarred by that, because like, there was something very obvious, and then there was just some very random twist with like a background character thing. So I was like, okay, if it's too obvious to be Sam, maybe it's just somebody hiding in plain sight. So I was like, Paul's new girlfriend or whatever. I was like, she serves no purpose on this show.
And
Like,
she's not smart. Let's
she
just be
be
real.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Because
when
I
you
was like,
think
whoever
about
did the
it-
thing as well wasn't smart.
Mhm.
When you think about
the,
it,
True.
the scene was a mess. Sorry.
when you think about it, I was gonna say there's no other. Even if they wanted to twist it, there's no character that we're invested in that would pull the punch that it did. Do you get what I
Yeah.
mean? So, for example, like who, even at his stretch, it couldn't have been. For example, it couldn't have been Nick. That was just, yeah. So I didn't
wouldn't
think
even
I
have
didn't
made
think there was
sense.
anybody. Yeah, it wouldn't have made sense. And I don't know. To me, I'd always just thought it was Sam because I think the way she reacted, that was not, the demeanor of someone that was shook. And also the way they also portrayed her grief. All of a sudden, she was so sad and she was lying to everybody about how sad she was. So I just felt like...
Oh, you felt like she was lying, like at every time.
Yeah, I did feel she was lying.
That's interesting because the way
obviously,
they
the show
framed
did it well because exactly the way they executed it, it was still a surprise. Like let me not say that I predicted that
because you know
happening.
how she feels about him, and you know that she would have mixed feelings. So it's like when you're
But
watching
that's
her,
what I thought. Yeah.
when you're watching her react, and it's like, okay, why doesn't she feel? Why isn't she as expressive about this so-called grief? You realize, okay, look at what she is going through here and what she has been through. So it makes sense that she would react in this way, and she kind of used that to her advantage. And the writers obviously used that to their advantage when it came to us, right? But even in terms of her relationship with Coop, right? Because I'm not just talking about what happened. I'm talking about what she essentially tried to do to Coop in the process.
I mean,
like,
let's put all the cards on the table. Samantha
whole
is a bit
world,
nuts.
man. Like
She's nuts.
A bit nuts.
Let's put all the cards on the table.
She's crazy. She's crazy.
She's actually nuts.
Listen,
she's so insane.
Because he never really seemed to enjoy being intimate with her all that much. Like it was almost as though he needed.
That's what I was gonna say.
Like he needed the connection
as
and
specifying language here.
Yeah, I was like, are we being censored?
No, we're not being censored. I can't speak English again.
I was just gonna say, but like, yeah, even from the sex scenes together, like,
yeah. It's like he needed the connection and he needed the release physically. But it's like he wasn't present, or he just felt like, okay, should I even be doing this? Do I want to be doing this?
I wouldn't be surprised if like Coop never finished, because he was just very like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I think he wanted.
That's the demeanor of a man that wanted to think of his wife to not, but he couldn't.
Although,
unfortunately,
bro, this gets so specific.
So,
have you been there? Are you conjuring up images?
Please.
Wait till
please.
They are snipers. Wait till
I beg, please. I'm not involved.
But like, do you know that the thought process in the show goes very far? Like, I know we're talking about the sex scenes as well, but like one thing I did notice, right? Like, Mel's the only person that Coop went on top. Right? Like, if you check all the people he slept with in the show.
Positional analysis.
No. It's just something that occurred to me.
We love a diligent viewer.
It's just something that occurred to me while watching it. I'm like, okay, are they trying to tell us something here? Like, a lot of these, like, Coop is not interested in driving, so to speak. Right?
Like, actually kills me, man. Pause it right there.
Oh my god, bro.
See, I give the analysis that the people need but are scared of asking for. This was the same thing when I analyzed Top Boy.
And
they said I have too much knowledge.
Very good.
I give the analysis the people want but are scared to ask for. That's what
you can actually even see what you're saying in the opening sequence, right? Because when they show Coop in bed with somebody, like, the woman is the person who's actually on top, and Coop's eyes, you can see that he's worrying about everything. Like, the weight of the world is obviously on his shoulders because he is, again, 3 houses. But at the same time, like, I feel like there's I feel like there's a sense of, what am I really doing here? And obviously, to her credit, Sam felt that too. Like, she felt this guy is not really valuing me the way I want to be valued, right? There's nothing real that will come out of this. And I was kind of sad about that for her sake, because like there was a part of me that's like, this could be nice, and it's completely fine, it's completely legal, it's completely understandable, right? They're both divorced, right? So why doesn't he want to go forward? Is he still in love? Is he hurt? Does he feel, okay, I can't afford all these things? Like, there's just so many things.
And the show
from her
goes to
perspective,
great
why
lengths.
wouldn't he want to be with her?
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, the show goes to great lengths to show us that, right? Like, almost everybody's like, you and Sam would make sense, that kind of thing. Like, the detective, who else says it? I think Barney says it as well. So everyone's like, oh, she's single and this and that. And Coop is literally that Riddler meme. Does he know? Everyone's telling you how much of a good idea it is to get with Sam. It's like, do they know?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But yeah. Sorry, I always, but yeah, I was just like, that's just another kind of layer of the show. Like when you're thinking something, the show almost tells you should be thinking it, which I think is a sign of a very smart show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, put a pin in that, like they're literally just telling you, hold on to that thought. And, I feel like there's a lot that Coop did that definitely contributed to his trajectory in the show. Like you get invested in him very fast, obviously from that initial 20 minutes. But, he continues to do things more and more. We find out where he is afterwards. And honestly, the kind of pain that came from that scene where he got fired, that was dark. It really. I
felt really sorry for him.
That's a real like indication of this notion that at a certain level you cannot trust anybody, because he would never have seen that coming. Like think about all the stuff that this guy, right, this Jack guy had to put in place, such that whenever anything like this happened, he could just swoop in and be like, I'm just going to take everything out from under you. Like, my God, like that's the kind of betrayal that you'd be expecting from a headphone show like Billions. But no, it's a headphone show like this one.
We're talking about the lessons that you learn, and I know it's a funny show, but man, the thing that it teaches you, for example, you put all your life into it, and we know this guy sacrificed. Obviously, we learn down the line that he sacrificed his family for this shit, only for it to be taken. You can imagine. Honestly, us talking about it, you can imagine how pissed off he must have been, because it's like, I did all of this to the point where I lost my ex-wife and my kids, only for me to not even have it in the first place.
Yeah.
Do you get how insane that is?
They made a rich guy relatable because of disappointment. Like, this is so effective.
it's so crazy, because like you said, like it almost kind of shows you that nothing is guaranteed. Like just like that, his life changes, right? And it's not even like it's one thing if it was made redundant, right? And then you're like, okay, he has no job or whatever. But like, look at how the extent they went. Like he's leaving with pretty much nothing, none of the accounts, nothing. He's basically been rendered unhireable. So like you can't even get another job.
By the way, what kind of insane non-compete is that?
Bro,
like what are you signing? How did you sign that?
2 years.
2 years?
2 years.
With people you brought?
I'm even
2
like
years.
I feel like they must have changed that thing a little bit. I don't think that's what he probably signed at the original.
I think he just didn't trust. Sorry, he just didn't not trust them. He didn't feel, most times you just also, I guess, sign these things not feeling like someone
because he was comfortable and he had trust. Like all these things are built on trust, which is why Jack was able to do what he did. And even the girl who was caught up in all of it is like, she's like, why?
I didn't even file a complaint.
Like,
can we talk about that scene though? That scene was crazy.
Which one?
The scene with him and what's her name again? The lady that
Liv
he
Cross.
had. Liv. Yeah, Liv. That scene with
at the bar
with him and the reverse psychology that he was pulling was killing me, man. Like,
bro, I don't even understand the Riz.
He was using grumpy Riz.
In the end, she's just like, listen, man.
I just want to get laid, bro. Like, help your sister out.
That's just one of those things where it's like,
how can a man end up with just like, from her expecting him to move to her, it ended up with might as well. How did he turn the tables?
Exactly, because it's it's just one of those moments where there's a decision that's made and you have no idea how this decision will affect your life. And I think that's part of where I got real feelings of empathy for this guy.
Bro.
Because he was just trying to drink his drink.
Bro.
Imagine he didn't go there that day. Just imagine.
Bro.
Imagine he finished his drink early. Like,
bro,
yeah.
I don't know if you guys
anything.
have these moments in life where it's just, you just think, oh, so if I just didn't go down this path, like, things would have just
a
been so much
flashpoint like that.
Oh. Yeah.
I get that sometimes, man. I'm just like, different like aspects and stuff. Like there was a day last week I was like, if I had just taken this day off, my life would be so much better right now. Why did this happen today?
Yeah, and there are moments like that kind of colored throughout the season, right? It's like you find yourself asking, at what point
is it too much?
Not just is it too much, but like, did it become clear that things were not going to end well for this guy? Like, was it when he tried to mess with the art world? Was it when he continued his involvement with Elena? Was it when he started to even enjoy stealing? Like, was it here? Like, there's so many things where it's just like, bro, you probably could have stopped. Like, the universe is giving you an out.
Yeah, like that first mission with Elena, I think that's where you have to stop normally. Like, I was even thinking it was going to reflect after that.
Bro, like you're running, you're being chased by police, you're being chased by dogs. You know your life is crazy when dogs become scarier than police. Because
and even before that, like, you've bought fake alarm code.
Yeah.
You're trying to steal Birkin that you don't even care about. At the end, you flung it for the dog.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's like, I get that this is what happens, which is, that's what he tells us. I mean, it clearly only happens here, but apparently it's what happens. But then it's like, how do you deal with the aftermath of this stuff? Because what are you going to do when everything kind of just comes crashing down? And in my humble opinion, right, I expected the Elena thing to kind of just be, something that didn't last as long. So for me, when he continued working with Elena, that's when I was like, bro, you've lost the plot.
Okay.
You've lost the plot. Like, in a sense, it's like, okay, it got him higher scores because then he was able to bypass alarm codes. But now you're trying, like, his main goal was doing this discreetly.
Yeah,
and things become less discreet when you're now involving other people. So,
but like,
I think when he started getting,
like, she caught him. So either she was gonna grass, and I mean, I guess, who are people gonna believe, Coop or the immigrant housekeeper? So he could have played that card, but but at the end of the day, I felt like his hands were kind of tied. My thing was that Elena got so ambitious so quickly. Like, has she been planning her own enterprise before?
And then when she now took the money, oh my God. No, that annoyed me at the end, man.
Yeah, it pissed me off.
When she took the money, and then she was now coming to yell at him. And she didn't want to let him in when he wanted to talk.
It pissed me off real bad.
I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, see, I knew I was literally just said out loud, I knew this was a mistake.
This show
like,
has written for it.
And I think
this show has written for a white man that steals.
Like, he needed companionship, even in his rubbish world he was leading with.
Yeah.
Like, we talked about the arts kind of thing, like when, I don't know his name on the show, when Drummond shows up, but like, Coop could not have gone through that alone. Like, the odyssey with that guy was just a whole
what a fiasco
madness.
That was. Like
all of a sudden, drugs. Like, I was like, how did we get here?
Wow.
Bro.
I'm like,
escalate
but
so
like, this
quickly.
show, it's so good because you're literally just following Coop, because you're like, this is ridiculous, but here I am. And then you're like, oh, I'm angry because I've come to show you, like, we're going from dealing with an art thief and drugs. In the same show, you're coming to the house that you pay for with your ex-wife, your old friend, and then your daughter is walking in with some asswipe of a 20-year-old boyfriend. And they just like
hit his car. Oh my God.
And ruined the boot of the car. I think that guy's the worst character of the show, by the way.
Punching his balls was not enough.
He definitely is.
Mine was just going to be a humorous point of how I knew it wouldn't end well, because he started getting kitted up. And the things that he was stealing were getting more and more expensive. So
for no reason. Though I guess
I think
it then leads
I think it peaked at the watch, man, when he got the 250k watch. I'm sorry, also, man, the lives that some of these people are living. How do you have a 250k watch and you don't notice that it's gone?
You don't notice that it's gone. Fam, I'm telling you, if I had a watch like that was essentially the cost of somebody's house, best believe I would know where it is at all times.
Bro,
like not only
there will be a ring camera inside
I'll make sure my
drawer.
wife knows where it is at all times. My first son, my daughter, like they will know where it is at all times, and everybody will check in every day. Is it still there? What kind of nonsense is that? Like, can you, like, it just doesn't make sense. But I guess in a sense it adds up because the people who own these things, you know, that is their own level of luxury. Like that is their own level of, you know, this is where we are and what we're doing. It does make me wonder though, if you had to live Coop's life, right? Like what would you steal over and over? Like what would your strategy be? Would it be vanity or would it be sustenance? Like I'm stealing in order to kind of sustain myself and my family, which is what this thing started as supposedly. But then it just turned into the thrill of the chase. And I hope he gets chased by another dog. Because it makes sense, right? But it makes sense to do it the way he did it.
So much depth.
Yeah, but like the thing is, he had to diversify. He didn't have much of a system though. He had to diversify what he was taking, but he didn't have much of a system, and that bugged me. And I'm wondering if, you know, he'll be more focused in season 2. But I guess we'll get to that later. Because it's like, if this was happening in our real world, right, and like we had to live his life, would you have certain things that you wanted to acquire? Would you have a ceiling maybe where it's like, okay, after this point, I'm going to stop stealing, right? But he didn't seem to have any of that, so it's like,
I think he couldn't have that, right? I think he couldn't have that unless he told everybody that he had actually lost his job, because basically he had to steal continuously to replace that income.
Yeah. And the amount his burn was way higher than his income. Like, it's like all these things you're still like, yes, you've made 60k from this watch, but 100k left your account yesterday.
That's what I'm saying. Like, even with his job, I feel like his finances were rough. Like, it was barely afloat.
They were definitely.
I don't think he was. You guys think he was rough? I don't think he was rough.
Did you see that credit card statement the day he lost his job? Just minus everywhere, man. Like,
yeah, nah, it was rough. He was not like he should have been listening to Barney more. Okay, I'm telling you,
look at that day
he was spending like somebody who was sure money will continue coming.
Bro, exactly. Look at that day he went to see Mel, right? Just for not being his day. Look at the billing they gave him. Torini skin treatments. What was it? 200k pop.
Even the ice cream that the boy didn't want,
bro. Hunter needs new drum kits.
Drum set. The guy, 3K, by the way.
Wasn't that 34?
Just like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was even mentioned, but I saw that drum set. I'm just like, that's at least a $3,000 drum set.
Bro, just literally just drive it to the house, bill it. Haba. No, the guy was suffering. Like, the guy was actually suffering.
All to just be told, why are you here? It's not your day. Hey!
Bro.
He now bashed his Ferrari. His this thing.
Maserati.
Bro, Maserati.
Nah. And I guess that leads me to my next question. Do we like Mel? Like,
no.
Can we be honest here? Can we just...
Mel is
can we get real here?
I'm sorry, Mel is a terrible character.
Bro, as soon as she walked out that front door,
I hated Mel before.
I was like...
The best you can say is you felt sorry for her. You can't say that Mel was a good person.
She's not a good person.
That even when Coop
I liked her, to be honest.
Coop was looking down the barrel of jail. Mel made it about herself. How? Like, nah, Mel is actually the reason Coop is in this whole mess. I'm sorry.
For me, I still like her. I like her as a character. Like, I hated her before, but I like her now. You guys don't like her at all?
No, I grew to be invested in her, and I grew to kind of like her as a person, as a character. But like when she first appeared, I was already like it was like, why are you doing all this? It's like the level of entitlement, and even just this attitude from her and from Nick. That's like, why are you still angry about this?
Yo, like, you know,
it's so
annoying.
It wasn't even just her and Nick. It was all of them in the neighborhood. So
It's
crazy,
like, oh, let
bro.
this thing go. It's like, you guys, do you not
like, move
value
on.
anything? And
Fam.
I mean, I was trying my best already to kind of move past all that. And somebody, like, some people close to me will say, oh, I'm just biased, you know, she's an op because
Nah, I'm
she's
sorry.
David Benioff's wife. The actress who plays Amanda Peet is David Benioff's wife. Wait.
At least I didn't know. I didn't know before I didn't like the character. So nobody can blame me for that one.
Yeah. For anybody who isn't aware, David Benioff is one of the
Game of
two-man
Thrones.
showrunner team of Game of Thrones. I'll leave it at that. Having said that, though, I've always liked Amanda Peet's work, not just in terms of acting, but in terms of, you know, producing, writing, and stuff. Like, she's like, for example, there's this show on Netflix called The Chair that stars Sandra Oh as, you know, somebody who is working in academia. It's like it's actually a very fun, cool, quirky 6-episode show that people should actually check out. It's produced on some level by Benioff and Weiss, but I think it's actually mostly run by Amanda Peet, and I really enjoyed that show. So seeing her here, I was like, okay, what kind of character is this going to be? But there's just something about the way Mel moves that doesn't work for me. Like, for example, right, she's saying all these things of, okay, why are you...
The guy said he hates her aura.
Oh, you know what? When you said moves, I was like, is this guy gonna hit how she walks, like physically? But when you started talking, I was like, okay, the way she behaves. But I was like, man just said it was literally like,
But was she not moving mad? Like, she was part of the people, even being involved in the whole scandal, the whole debacle. She was part of the people saying, oh, like, you know, why are you still mad about this? But men and women are interesting, right? Because you can see the kind of relationship that Coop and Nick still managed to have. Strained and all, like, they still have some type of relationship. But then compare it to when Mel and Sam have a public falling out at a coffee shop. It's like, oh, but people should let things go. Like, literally just to try and hurt Sam. She's okay.
Mel just
tell me, make this make sense. You want to hurt Sam, the single person who is sleeping with the single guy that you used to be married with. To hurt her, you're saying, oh yeah, you know, I slept with him in front of the guy you're dating now. And Nick is just there like, excuse me, what?
Nick does.
Like,
Like,
just look at the level of self-sabotage here. Come on now.
That scene was crazy because everybody in that scene glorified themselves in shit. Everybody.
What a lie, bro. What a lie.
Yo,
nobody came out of that thing looking good.
Let's be guided.
Exactly.
Yeah.
From Sam literally throwing it in her face, and then Mel then saying, oh, I slept with him in front of the person that she's currently dating. Then that guy had the audacity to be offended at the thing that he did. And then
literally. And then he left her there.
Even the way he acted at the offense. Nick, you're a big man, man. At least tell her you're leaving her. Guy just locked door. Use your words, bro. Like, do it.
He said, oh, how am I going to get back? He said, call Coop. I said, bro, I thought you were past this level of pettiness.
Bro, I kind of...
No, you see, this show is insane because this guy said, call your husband.
Oh, my God. Now, Mel had some nerve.
The car he was even living with, isn't that... Didn't
that was the Coop's car. No, that was the...
No, that was the one
gym
who
car.
customized to be the... No, but it was Coop's car before. Was it? I think he bought it from Mel or something. Because they were like, see what he did with the car when he did the strong ass gym thing.
I think because they were talking about the gym, but I don't think.
I don't think we can.
Because I was going to say, like, where's the shame? Because there was actually one thing Coop said as well that got me this thing was when Nick was asking him to stay for burgers or something. It's like, oh, you're gonna cook on my grill
in my house,
in my house
that you're sleeping in.
Nick also doesn't have shame.
This show dropped some gems. This show dropped some serious gems.
Oh gosh, like it was just so wild. Like everybody was blaming this man for everything, and he's just trying to hold it together. Even the children. Though I like on some level how the children never truly warmed up to Nick because they were old enough because they were old enough that they could tell that, like, bro, the way you did this thing.
Also, he was begging.
It didn't make sense.
Like he was literally begging it. Like he had nicknames for them now. What was he calling Tori? I can't remember. I was like, bro, you're 40.
Tour.
Was it Tour? Yeah, Tour.
Something like that. I was like,
And
bro,
she
you're
was like,
40,
who is
man.
that?
I was like, bro, you're 40. Don't beg it. Like, you know.
I mean,
But
to
you
be
know-
fair, it's
but you
like he
know-
was
you
trying
know
and he
when
was
you're
trying
in
to move
that-
past it. But he's like, oh, I love Mel. You know, I was in love with her. But they
Bull
actually
crap.
mentioned that he was married before. He's also divorced, right? And they never really show us who that person was or what that relationship was. But he came in here and he did all this. Yes, he's trying to make amends, but he can't actually be shocked that Coop is annoyed.
What is
Or
actually
that
going
people
on
are
in this
irritated with him.
neighborhood, by the way? Can't people
That
date
was-
outside?
That's what I was just thinking. That's literally what I
Ask
was
them
just
again.
thinking.
Please ask them again.
It's
I
literally
mean,
what I was just
there's
thinking.
this idea that people
Paul
want
is the
people
one
who are
person that
similar
actually
to
stepped
them,
out of his
but
comfort zone.
Like, I'm just
He
like,
went to date below his social class. All of them, they're just bouncing.
oh my goodness.
Look, yeah, Paul is actually a
like-
freedom fighter. We're
No,
looking
because-
down on him.
no,
Paul is
even
an idiot.
forget. But like, look at what's his lawyer's name, Kate. Like,
Mhm.
is it so bad to the point that it's now your daughter's boyfriend?
Your daughter's
like,
boyfriend. That's the one that got
is that
me,
how we're
man.
lacking
Like
men
this
in
is
this
how you
estate?
like how do you say you love your children? Like
Fam,
you can't even
that
allow
is-
your children to have nice things.
I think that
And
is
the
bo-
thing is that
like
the boy is not even it's probably not even anything to you.
in terms of that is like top 3 bottom barrel. How many more things as a parent can you do that's more bottom barrel than that?
Bro,
I don't think
the
there's
girl
that
now come
many.
home and be like, "Oh, mom, we're going on a date," and in your mind, you're like, yeah,
Oh,
cool.
your own kid. I feel like even sibling is even better off than parent. Parent is just so disgusting. It's so
Like,
mad
you
and
know,
disgusting.
you know when people,
And this is
when
real,
people
by the
use
way.
the
Like I've
term-
heard stories of this, like
yeah,
people's mothers like
But you know-
swooping
but
in
you know,
on their husbands or boyfriends.
you know when like people
Mm.
say the thing of like, you know, if you want to denigrate someone dating older or whatever, it's like, oh, she's old enough to be your mom. This one, literally, she is old enough
It's
to be
your
his
mom. It is. She basically is.
And I'm just like, like I don't even know
Oh.
where to start with that one. Like the guy
Like,
too. I guess I don't know. They're buying him stuff or whatever.
It's just a
But-
weird circle of hypocrisy. And on some level, you
Yeah.
can say it goes back to like, you know, the way these people move within their social like clique and how everybody feels the need to validate each other. And
Mhm.
what everybody feels fake on some level. It goes even back to Mel, right? Because she has some nerve being annoyed with Sam. But like she's here doing all the things she's doing. She's living kind of a double life. And she's barely able to give advice that's caring and nurturing, even though she's a child psychologist. Like she has a session with that
Yeah.
kid, and then
She's also terrible.
she
by
comes
the
out
way.
and she's keying somebody's car
Imagine
just to feel a rush.
she's learning from her patients. Like,
Oh my
what are we
goodness.
doing here?
Like he's here because he keyed cars and was caught, and you're just like, okay, yeah, me, I can do
That
it, but
sounds
I can't-
good.
I
Sounds
won't
good.
get caught. I don't know. It's like if Coop
I
was
should
in
try
desperate
that.
need of intimacy and connection, you know, because he felt like he was losing his world and his life. You know, Mel is like, for whatever reason, she needed some form of like supercharged thrill. Right.
I think so.
That's what led definitely to the whole Nick thing. But like this fact that she wants to feel like, yeah, I'm doing something bad and like they're not going to catch me. First is the car keying, then it goes to the jam.
Yeah.
Again,
this is the
Jam?
thing. I feel like that's you know, there's an episode that kind of focuses on Mel, or like it starts with Mel. And you just
Yeah.
kind of see her like, it just feels like she's suffering from lack of chaos in her life. And I think the show in general kind of shines a light on this, right? Like
Yeah.
with all these rich people, because they're all into very weird things, buying stupid things, whatever they're doing, sleeping with their daughter's boyfriends, all these things. It can, I guess, it's almost telling you that like, as humans, like we have a need for struggle. So like them being so affluent to the
Struggle
point
is
that
on some level what makes us human, I guess.
exactly. So them having so much affluence and so much money almost kind of makes them to seek thrill in other ridiculous things. Like,
Yeah.
I think the happiest Coop has ever been was after his first like job where he actually stole that thing. Like that's
Mhm.
probably the happiest he's been in a while.
Because he needed purpose in life. Like
Yeah.
everybody needs some kind of purpose in life. And you know what? Speaking of purpose in life, we're talking about Mel, we're talking about the jam, we're talking about the college tour that they did. You know, when you boil that down to purpose and what Coop should be doing, I need to ask you guys, is he a good father? Like, is Coop actually a good father?
He is. I think
he is, yeah.
So it's multifaceted because, not to sound deep, but
please sound deep.
You see,
we have time.
You obviously you see the relationship. If you look at it from the lens of the relationship he has with his kids, then 100% he is. You know, they feel super comfortable coming to him. You know, I think, to be honest, my very best episodes in the show are always when he's with his kids. The college tour, we're talking about it. Even the episode where he goes to talk to Tori and she's kind of like she pushes back on him and then she comes down to spend time with him. You can see that obviously they connect with their dad in that way, but he's not, you can't call him a good father if his choices are not, they don't think about his kids. Because, you know, down the line we see that even upon his flaws, his kids still love him because he's a lovable guy. Let's not get that twisted. He's a very, like, Coop is a very lovable guy.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is he's not responsible enough.
He's not responsible. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not responsible
and that's
enough.
part of what was pushing Mel away as well,
and
I
that's
think.
part of, yeah, and you know, like, let's not forget that this show, obviously, like, a lot of them have the wrongs that they played, but, you know, Coop has a lot of sleaziness about him. Even, you know, when everything was happening, he's going late for Tori's, you know, tennis matches, you know, things like that. And I think
he prioritized work too much.
Exactly. When you put all that into consideration, you can't be a good dad. Like, he's trying his best. I think he's a good person, but I don't think he's a good enough father that he should be.
Yeah, he's a good dad, but he's not good enough. It's like he was doing the bare minimum. He felt like, okay, I need to provide. But, you know, being a father is not just about provision. It's also about being present. You know,
exactly.
That's why Elon Musk is so bad at it.
Who's a good dad.
Go on.
We can't call someone a good dad and he makes the choice that he makes at the season finale. You can't be. You just can't be. Like, I'm sorry. Do you get what I mean? Like, no matter how much I like you.
Shall we just talk about that choice? Because honestly, like, see, his decision to continue after everything, right? Even though he had an out. You know, I thought about it for a while and it made me ask some deep questions. It's like, okay, first of all, was Coop ever truly happy in this hedge fund? And then that led me to, could he ever truly have returned to the old life? Like, has his paradigm shifted too much? Like, if we're being really honest about it, can someone who has gone through what he's gone through and survived, essentially, and, you know, has a bunch of bridges burned, so to speak, can he come back to what was going on before? And then I'm like, okay, is this a bad decision? Or is this truly something that was inevitable? Like, is this a realistic outcome? Because left to me is like, bro, I hate to say it because I'm not endorsing this behavior, but you can still steal while having your job. Like, your job does not actually, like, if you want to steal that bad, then do it while keeping the job so that you know that there's steady income. But you want your quote-unquote steady income to come from this volatile thing that is essentially putting your life and your family's lives at risk. Because it doesn't make too much sense to me to do it that way. Like, yes, his paradigm has shifted and it's hard for him to come back. But how feasible is it for him to be doing it this way? Because whatever money he would have made from stealing, he was going to get from the fact that he's going to have more power and more wealth in this new, like, he was basically bouncing back harder.
So I think there's like multiple layers to that ending, right? The first one to get out of the way is the meta one, which is, if he takes that job back, there's no show to have.
There's no show,
otherwise,
I guess. There could be, again, he can still while having a job. That could even be a new obstacle for him to surmount.
Yeah, or we're going to spend season 2 trying to justify why he's going to start stealing again. It just feels like you have less chance to pitch a season 2 as well. Because it's like, this kind of feels like, you know, full circle. The other thing is that I don't think it's one or the other. I feel like if he had gone back to that job and everything, I feel like it would betray the whole character arc of the season.
Yeah.
which is
That's what
him
I'm saying. It
realizing
was
that,
maybe inevitable. Like his paradigm has shifted.
yeah. So it's like,
But
basically he has learned that a lot of these people were all bunches of crap. And like, you know, sometimes I guess on some level, right, he feels like he's dishing out justice. You know, like,
well,
because
so he's
these are all
Robin Hood.
terrible people. Yeah, in
Divine
his head,
retribution.
in some way. It's like, these are all terrible people anyway. That's probably why he goes to doing it, because it's like, you know what, Jack, you should have been number one on my list, you know, and this is for sending me down this path.
Yeah. And on some level, I'm wondering, like, okay, maybe him not going back is actually going to ruin Jack. In which case, maybe that's the reason he did it.
Yeah,
as well,
look,
because that's like an
I
added
think-
bonus.
I think that's a way to punish him, definitely. And then it's
Yeah.
like,
I
at
mean,
the same
look-
time, I get something out of this to sell. So basically punish him financially, and also like, I guess, I don't know if he has an emotional attachment to that painting or whatever. So, you know, I guess maybe the only other like feasible ending I would see would be some sort of middle ground, right? Where he got a different job. Or, because one thing I was thinking the show was heading towards was that he was going to get Jack's job. And then I was like, okay, that's what we'll just close out the whole thing. And I'll just make up my mind there's no season 2. But yeah, I think those are kind of, I think that's the way I see it. I think him going back was just not an option. It just kind of feels like, Coop, have you learned nothing? Like, who knows what they've put into this new contract
Yeah,
now?
because
Yeah.
what I was
Yeah.
gonna say is, you know, like I hear all your points, but first of all, is there a problem with just having one season for a show? Have we gotten to that point where we need to have I mean, this
But
was
no,
enjoyable, and
this show was so good.
yeah,
and
it was,
I think-
and we liked it in the vacuum that it was. Do we need
But I think
another because
so. Just from my own point of view, right? One of the reasons why I think this show made me feel, or why I enjoyed the show a lot, is that it's kind of a throwback to network TV, even though it's a
Mhm.
streaming show, right? Because each episode has an A plot and a B plot, and there's a premise. Scoop is going to steal something. Something else is going to happen in his personal life that's going to make you feel bad for him. That's kind of the precipice of every
And he has a
single
lot of people
episode.
he's taking care of too, right? From his
Exactly.
children to his sister, which let's not
Yeah.
forget his sister, who we haven't
So-
mentioned yet.
So basically, two things. Coop is going to steal something, and you're going to care more. Something is going to happen to someone you care about. That's kind of what happens in every episode. His sister, even like, you know, Elena, we got to see her own side of things, of like how it is being a housemaid to these kinds of people and their own little WhatsApp group or network or whatever. So that's kind of like a thing. So like, as well, being a weekly show, like I know I used to tell you, Chinedu, like, okay, yeah, time to see what Coop is up to. Because like that was the feeling of like network TV, of like one day a week, what's going to happen. Okay, cool, I've got my fix. I'll be back next week. So it had those things that are kind of repeatable as well. Also the fact that like, I think network shows used to do this, like, you know, like How to Get Away with Murder is an example, right? Like every episode had like some sort of murder case that would teach you something. In this aspect, what they have is that Coop tells you something about what he's stealing. So you're kind of learning some luxury item, or anyway, for me, I'm learning some luxury item that I don't know about or whatever. And I'm like, that's actually that expensive or something. So
I
you have
did
that
like
kind
those
of
segments, yeah.
we learned that wine is five figures. Yeah.
Bro, exactly. So like having that weekly thing, I think kind of made sense. So it's the kind of show that I would like to see continue. Obviously, you know, there's a middle ground. Like, you know, I'm not saying I want 11 seasons or whatever.
They shouldn't overdo it.
Yeah,
and they
I'm
shouldn't
not
make
saying I
things
want 11
gimmicky.
seasons. Yeah, I'm not saying I want 11
because-
seasons, but I feel like the characters are also strong enough. Like, you know, like when we're coming into this podcast, like we could easily have said, look, we're just going to go character by character and we'll have decent stuff to say about everybody. Like no one's a caricature on this show. You know, like Barney has stuff going on with his in-laws, with his missus and all these kind of, like almost everyone can almost like support at least an episode on their own with all the stuff everybody has going on. You know, the kids, Tori's talking about college, realizing that she's been dating a crap human being and trying to, you know, move up. Hunter's
Stupid
getting
boy.
better, all these kinds of things. So it's like there's a lot going on in the show that I'm like, okay, if it continues, I think it's a good vibe. And it's also like, okay, now Coop feels like, okay, he's stealing and stuff, but now he can actually get another job. right? So I guess we can now talk about like exploring like, okay, what is driving Coop, you know? I know obviously we can assume, you know, it's the thrill and stuff like that, but I feel like there's a lot.
I think it's
to still
thrill,
say.
but it's also this sense of being in control. Right? He thought he had gotten to a point of control before, and then everything was just taken from under him. And, you know, when that kind of thing happens to you, you are hardwired to ensure it never happens again.
Yep.
Right? That's kind of how that goes. So, in a sense, like this, you know, this is feasible, it's plausible, but like, I wonder if there was a different way that he could have gone. I wonder if there was another way to kind of explore this character arc. But it kind of makes sense. I just don't want it to make sense simply for the reason that they need the show to continue. That's my thing.
Yeah,
I get you.
But yeah,
but I trust the
Chinedu,
writers,
what do you think?
like we said.
to be fair, well, what I was gonna say was, yeah, I don't want, you know, we're talking about character development in the sense that, okay, he didn't go back to the job because he realized that it didn't make him happy. But I didn't also didn't want him to then start stealing, because you went through all that experience of almost putting your kids through hell only to go back. Like, that doesn't even make sense. And I know you're a smart guy, so why would you make that decision? But then obviously thinking about it, they only showed him stealing from Jack, so it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to go back to stealing.
Yeah,
it could have been
just been
one. Yeah, one last.
Even though he's
last,
literally said it's time to get back to work.
Well, maybe, I don't know. That is true. That is true. I don't know. I just don't want to. I'm not ready to. The last thing I'll need is to go through the.
Let's
what
not make
we went through in
assumptions
the
yet,
last
right?
4
Because like we said, the show
episodes.
hasn't been predictable.
Mhm.
So like, it's possible that they're going to go a different way with it, or there'll be a new paradigm for him to explore and learn more about himself, for us to learn more about people in the show. But, you know, speaking of people in the show, you know, like you said, there's a lot to say about a few of them. And I guess I wanted to ask you guys, was there ever really any hope for Nick?
What do you mean by hope?
Man.
Like, did he ever have any chance coming out of this season happy or fulfilled? Because it's like this whole thing of like, you know, somebody would say it's like a thing of you get them how you lose them, right? Which isn't really what happened, but it kind of is. And then, you know, you have the fact that he's trying so hard to assimilate into this life that one could argue he stole from his friend, right? And, you know, we're looking at the birthday party as well, where somebody's telling you, I don't want to do anything. I really don't want to do anything. Please don't do anything. And he's like, nah, you must have a party. And, you know, it just becomes very difficult, right? And I think the show did a good job of making us kind of almost sympathize with him. But because we know what he did, like literally from the beginning, like we saw this guy's butt before we saw his face, right? I think on some level, like we did, because the show, it was like everywhere he turned, especially with Coop, is like people, like they always showed his reactions to the things Coop said. Like it wasn't just played off for laughs. Like they showed how he was starting to feel every insult, how his lack of ability to connect with the kids was affecting him, how he was worried that like, okay, Mel going somewhere with Coop was going to be an issue. And I was just like, you guys are not trying to make me sympathize with this guy. But at the same time, that's clearly what they were trying to do, right? So we're now left with the question at the end. It's like, okay, everything is resolved. He and Mel have clearly broken up, especially after what happened, you know, in that coffee shop. Yeah, it's obviously for the best, but it's like, was there ever truly any chance of this ending well for him and for this relationship lasting? I think the answer is probably no. And it makes you wonder as well if this is a commentary on, like, you know, the lives of pro athletes in that live in places like this and, you know, fraternize with people of this sort.
I feel like, Nick was just doomed. Like, let's be real, like, he was just doomed. He was a doomed character.
Yeah.
Like, you could tell very much like he was way into Mel more than she was into him. And unfortunately, like,
he was a thrill chase for Mel. And Mel
that's what I
was
was gonna
something
say.
much more real for him. Like, he should have just gotten with Sam. But anyway.
Oh, don't do this thing, man. There are people outside the estate. Please. There are people outside the estate. Please. Please.
Oh God.
Because
man.
this vibe of like everybody knows everybody's history.
Yeah, I don't know why they have to find people within the same neighborhood. I really don't know. Like,
Please.
because even if you want
You guys
people who are
are rich,
also rich,
change
there are rich,
somebody's
there are
life.
rich people in other places too.
No, don't even do it. You
See,
are rich, change
Paul was
somebody's
trying
life.
to. Paul was trying to do it, and they killed him. So.
No, Paul killed himself, man. Paul was carrying waiter from his own restaurants.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Paul's
it was a
whole method.
farm
was
outside,
a weird.
man.
It was a creep, man. Jesus Christ.
Guys, like,
Weird
I'm going to
bloke,
save
man.
you. So what would have happened? Like in the next, every so often, every few years, you would have just gotten a new one. Like, nah. Please.
He's insane for that. He's insane for that.
Man was like, he's the one expanding horizon.
But even, can we actually just for a second talk about the way this guy died? Like you're on FaceTime and you're holding a gun to your head and you're so drunk and high that you actually.
That guy was on deep drugs, bro.
What? What level of drugs?
Bro.
Here's what I'm saying.
And
like,
even for
people
Sam watching that as well on FaceTime, can you imagine your spouse? I
feel like dying while under the influence like that is it feels like such a betrayal.
It's such a shameful way to die. It's such a bad
sometimes
way.
I wonder, obviously they might have been suicidal, but did they really want to go through it? Do you get what I mean? So it's so horrific to kind of see, because this person might not have really wanted to go with this choice, but they are under the influence and just push them over the edge.
Yeah.
I'm not even trying to feel sorry for him, but it's just it's just when you think about it.
Yeah, no, it's a very sad thing. I'm laughing because, and this is probably a commentary on how my mind works. I'm like,
oh boy.
I'm like, so does his soul like sober up? I'm like, oh.
Hey, yo, what?
Because he just ended up just realized you're gone.
This guy is a comedian.
Because obviously there's no physical. This thing is just like, you don't even know how you got there, I imagine. It's just like, oh, because you just see your corpse.
Man, at this point,
3 brownies is all I had.
It's like, oh.
That's just
oh
wild.
My goodness.
But yeah, well, Paul is one thing, and you know, as we've clearly established, Nick is another. But when you think about the people in this community and like the relationships that they have, I really feel like it makes sense to talk about Barney. Like, I don't think we can close this out without discussing Barney, because first of all, we all need a Barney in our lives. I think we can agree on that, you know. But his life is frustrating to watch, man. Like it's so frustrating to watch.
The guy was complaining about billings from the first episode to the last episode.
From the first
but did
to
you
the
see,
last.
I think like the microcosm of Barney's life is when he almost burns that place.
Yes.
Right? Like, first of all, it's like, let me finally enjoy some peace and quiet and get drunk. Okay, there's a fire.
With the special occasion $40,000 bottle that they brought him.
Yeah, and it's like, you know what? This house burning is not a bad idea. Oh my God, it's actually burning. Like,
yeah, like he sobered up fast, you know, which is more than what we can say for Paul. But at the same time, you know, in a lot of ways, Barney seems a lot more miserable than Coop. Yeah. Right? Like, and I think it's all this thing of, should I do this? Okay, yes, I'll do this.
Hey.
You have to be careful who you marry.
Is this something that I want to be here while you're doing it?
Mark the timestamp. We need to
yes.
1 hour 13. Whoever is listening.
Drake, how far? But at the same time,
my
Please,
goodness.
please, wrap it up. Oh my God.
Man, I swear, at this point, Chinedu has laughed so much on this podcast. I'm worried about his heart health. They'll
not let us record together again.
Oh my gosh.
No Ted Lasso, damn.
Oh man,
jig is up, man.
Okay, no, but for real though, this feels like a thing of be careful who you marry. Like, I know they say happy wife, happy life, but damn, like, this babe's parents are the kind of thing no man wants in his life.
Yo,
just and when you meet them, it kind of makes sense.
Yep.
It actually kind of makes sense because he's like, okay, let's flip it on Barney's perspective for a moment, right? It's easier for him to advise Coop and be real with him than it is for him to do so with his own wife. What does that say about him? What does that say about the rich and society? What does this say about marriage and relationships? Like, look at the insane renovation she's doing. And to her, it's just like she keeps requesting them. Like, at the very least, someone like Mel would have been like, oh, okay, like, you know, how is this going to work? What are we doing here? You know, yes, there was involvement in the process, like from like in this whole thing Barney is doing, and like with his wife, with the, you know, with the renovations that they're doing and everything. But I'm telling you, this babe was doing it in such a way that she was just sure money was there. And on some level, I love the trust.
Yeah.
You know, I love that you trust that this man can provide and that everything is in order. But there was just this quiet sense of entitlement that I saw the entire time that I couldn't quite put my finger on. And then I met her parents. I'm just like, okay, this is somebody that has never heard no in her life.
Yeah.
Like, this is somebody that is disciplined, but expects to get everything she wants. And Barney is obviously not that kind of person. Like, this is not like a birds of the same feather flock together type of thing. Like, this is somebody who is very good with money and he's very good with discipline. He was saying even to her mom, like, okay, I'm trying to instill some financial discipline. And all the mom heard was, you're saying no to my daughter. We didn't let you marry our daughter so that you could say no to her. Here's $1 million. Give her what she wants. And I'm just like, wow.
You know when it feels as if their marriage is, you know, when someone comes from kind of a working class background and they marry up.
Married to generational
I think
wealth.
that's exactly.
I feel like it's a cautionary tale.
That's what I'm saying. Like this whole thing with Barney and Grace. Be careful who you marry. Genuinely.
And to be honest, aside even just being careful who you marry, I think the whole show, obviously, it's there's so much that they're teaching us because, man, them being married,
of the parents as well.
Listening to Barney talk about how they just started spending money and, you know, they start spending money on what they don't know, and you just think about the fact that even all these people
entered, their rooms have not entered in the house.
That they've not even entered,
and then they are still things that he finds in the house. Are like, oh, did I buy this?
That monologue was very hard hitting because, and I feel there's a lot of monologues in this show that, you know, when they talk about, you know, the affluence that they had, and it's so depressing because we slave through all we're doing, not to essentially get to them, but then you see people who have these comfortable lifestyles and they're just not happy and they're not and it's not
even to demonize wealth. It's just have some intentionality. Like, understand what's going on. Like, this idea of financial discipline, like this guy is a wealth manager. And look at his room. Like, look at the irony of that. Like, think about the fact that they were trying to dig. Why are they planting trees in the backyard? And then it's like, we hit something under here. It's like, okay, it's going to cost another 200K. 200K for them to continue digging. It's like, you know, if we don't do this now, then my guys have to go to another project.
The type of equipment I was seeing when they were doing their renovations, I was thinking,
I was like, are you guys trying to take the house apart? Like,
I'm just confused. I'm like, at what point will you just buy a new one? Like,
yes.
What are we doing here?
Why? It literally would cost less at this point to get another house. It was very confusing. And, you know, that scene at the end, you know, with the kitchen, where he's gone through all this stuff because of Coop. You know, he got hit by a car in the streets in the rain. Like, his arm is broken. You know, he's sitting there and like he's trying to be real with his wife, you know, but then he wasn't. And I hope season 2 kind of explores a lot more of Barney and Grace's dynamic. You know, I hope that, you know, especially now that Coop seems to have kind of settled into a sense of like, you know,
I wonder what happens.
Foolish confidence. Like, let's see how things go with Barney.
Does Coop grow his team? Does he bring Barney in?
That's what I'm saying. Like, would Barney ever push the bounds of the law to provide what his wife wants? Like, would Barney sooner become a new Coop than literally tell his wife,
then Coop
we are not buying this. We are not paying for this. We don't need this. Like, is he? And obviously, part of it is ego. Not necessarily that he's an overly proud guy, but I think it's just a sense of, you know, he's like, he knows that her parents, he's been undermined. He knows that her parents are expecting him to provide whatever she wants. So he doesn't want to, like, he could tell her, look, we can't afford this, but I think he just doesn't want it to get to the point where he has to tell her that there's something he can provide. Not just because of, well, the clear fact that her parents will find out about it and then he'll never hear the end of it, but it's just this fact that he wants to be that person for her, and there's a lot that he's dealing with. And
I think,
yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, like, I think it's also a very general thing, right? Like, you know, we're all getting older and stuff like that. And like, one thing I notice is that when people talk about like life partners and stuff like that, whenever there's something like the parent brings up or doesn't approve of, right? You almost feel like you have to dig your heels in to counteract. So I imagine they've obviously said, this guy's not rich enough to marry you or whatever. So he obviously has that chip on his shoulder where he kind of has to dig his heels in and be like, I can't ever prove that right. Do you get me? So I feel like that's the pressure Barney is living under. And it's going to be interesting, right? It might be a case of maybe he finally says it and Grace is like, oh, that's okay. Or maybe she's like, oh, I can't do this and I need to leave, right? But it's just...
Which would be insane.
You know, definitely. But like, I'm just saying, like, it's just one of the things of like the human experience, right? Of like, we'll much rather a lot of times, or most of us, suffer in that period of uncertainty than actually saying something and dealing with the ramifications. So
because
that's
the
where
ramifications,
the
I guess,
tension is.
Always feel deep, right? And, you know, we use the word teach a lot in terms of what this show is kind of presenting to us. And I guess, you know, that begs the question, to what extent is this show a thoughtful commentary on the things it depicts? Like, it's definitely entertaining, maybe even more than one would assume, right? Especially in my case, like, I was pleasantly surprised. Like, I always knew I'd like the show. I just didn't expect to be as engaged as I was, and I'm glad that I was. But I had to kind of, you know, I have to give them real points for the philosophizing, the silent signaling, like all the things that the show was able to do to actually tell us what's going on in the lives of the people, in the people around them as well. Because there are actually a bunch of lessons to learn here. Like, the show didn't end up being vapid. Like, it wasn't just straight up wealth porn. Like, through Coop's struggles and his reflections, we're actually able to learn a lot about things that, you know, maybe people don't say out loud. And I thought that was kind of cool. Like, the show is actually touching on things about relationships and, you know, the relationships between wealth and, you know, relationships themselves. Like, how do things get affected? You know, it reminds me of this whole thing of the Ratliff family in The White Lotus season 3. Shout out Bankole and Lolade. And that whole thing of, this guy won't even tell them that something is wrong because he cannot bear to be somebody that cannot provide for them. It's like, bro, this is your close-knit circle here. Like, this isn't like people outside that are going to laugh at you. But he can't even be vulnerable with them in that sense. And we see how that wealth is affecting the relationships that they have and the way he treats, you know,
as sad as it is I think it's the power of money, though. I think it's just the power of money.
Overly glorified, yes.
I think there's a lot of things that come into it. It's the power of money, and if you look at the two people that you've just talked about, the Ratcliffe, what's his name again? The Ratcliffe dad, is it Nick? Nick, I think.
Timothy.
Nick was his name, funny enough. Oh no, Tim. Why did I say Nick? Tim, and then Tim, and then obviously Barney, and I think to an extent it's kind of similar to when you have Nigerian fathers that also lose their financial, they don't come forth and talk about it. You know, I think it's just
because they feel like they failed.
Exactly. So, you know, and I think even in this rich, in this very wealthy neighborhood, there's very much kind of, what's the societal norms, or basically we're looking at heteronormative kind of setups of rich guy, you know, kind of housewife or lower income wife. Most of them anyways, like we see it with Sam, we see it with Mel. She's obviously not earning as much as, and then Barney to an extent as well. So if you have the guy that's earning so much more. They don't want, because of how money makes them look as if they are more than what they are.
Yeah,
You take
the
away that
power.
money aspect and it almost feels like they wouldn't get respect, but it should never be the case.
Yeah.
And if anything, you should always be, you can't let money control your life like that.
Yep.
With the relationships that
Money
you have
should work
with
for
the
you.
people.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? You know, the same way with Tim that we're talking about in White Lotus, he couldn't tell his family for so long until it eventually happened and it was taken out of his hands. If anything, aren't you more powerful when you take that news and bring it to them rather than them seeing the shadow of yourself that you cannot even, just have the confidence to tell them that you're not.
It's like, would they still love me? And if that's your question, then like you're in a very bad place.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And Coop was like that as well, right? Like that's why he was missing all sorts of things and, like showing up late to stuff, like using Tori's tennis game as an opportunity to steal, all these kinds of things. Like, but I guess Coop is also in a very different situation because like on some level, that's all he kind of had that was holding him to the family. Because like Nick had come in and done whatever. Like a lot of the conversation, I know we were talking about it, like the only thing tying him and Mel together at that point was just billing. Like literally.
Yeah.
So like if he couldn't do that, like what else would he have to offer? That was probably his fear of like, if I can't even pay that, like she won't even let me come around anymore. And with the energy that Mel was when this show started, like I don't know what
like he's paying for that house.
Does she fight
he's
for
paying
custody
for his rental house. He's paying for where Ali lives.
Yep.
His sister, and his sister is just a whole other kind of worms I don't even know that we have time for, because that
all
Bruce
I'll
guy
say is that Bruce guy is a terrible
fuck Bruce for
literally
Bruce.
Like we should sing that song along with her. That's it. That's enough said with that.
I think he's the most bottom barrel character in the whole show.
Like,
and that's saying a lot.
Like, I have a family. Bro, are you serious?
Bro, where was that energy when you were making her do NFL roleplay?
I think the worst part is she was actually on her own. I hate people that always come to people like that and then they behave because she was.
To be fair, wasn't she the one that found him in the gym?
No, she found him in the gym and tried to seek him out. Yes, but he didn't.
True,
but he's
actually
responsible for his actions. Like he didn't have to go through with it. He wasn't all like, "Oh, I have a family." He was there trying to sell her dreams, explore this idea of like, "Oh, what if?" So, I guess, while we're in this whole, closing thought of philosophical exploration, overall, from the premise of this show to the events that we actually see occurring in it, is it realistic? Like, how realistic is this show? Because I have to say it, a lot of crazy stuff happens, and I find myself thinking, you know what? I can see it.
I think it's a very grounded.
I mean, it's happening.
I think it's very, very. I think it's very truthful because, one of the things, I know we've laughed a lot, but what I was going to say is, I do think the show is very serious in portraying how rich people behave, because forget that it's white people, even the rich people that we have back home, they're very cliquey and very fake like that. Exactly like that.
This isn't just a race thing. You're right.
If you go to any affluent black church, any affluent black setting, you get exactly, I'm not even just saying it's a race thing per se, but if you go to any affluent community, it's exactly the same way they behave. It's very pretentious.
People wanting to establish a pecking order,
that are grounded in where they've, a pecking order and all of that. Even down to the fact of people getting so comfortable in terms of their security and their well-being because they feel they're in such a community that, how can such a blasphemous thing like stealing happen to them? If you get what I mean. The laid backness
leaving your doors open.
Leaving your doors open. They can't believe such a blasphemous thing like stealing can happen in their community. So they're so lax with it. And
here? So, really? No way.
Bro, honestly. So, and I think it's very real. I think it's very real and ironically very fake. So.
What did I end it on?
Fair enough. I guess as we close out, I have to shout out the production value of the show. It looks great. It sounds great. It feels engaging to watch. The pacing is amazing. The sets, the costuming, the props, like we get a real sense of this world of wealth really feeling lived in, and that doesn't happen by accident. So well done to everybody who created the show, honestly. Even the way they displayed those items that he was stealing, whenever they're showing us something new, you know, it's kind of, it made me wonder, like, cool. Oh, is this a flex or is this a gimmick, right, that they're doing the show this way? And I thought it was kind of like a nice thing. They didn't overdo it. There's a part of me that wondered if they should have even done it more, like, you know, doing a fact file on, you know, the history of each item. And these are items that, like, are pretty cool to see in the first place, right?
Yeah.
This idea of, like, how it could have been a gimmick, but they made it work well for the show actually gave me this idea for a quick lightning round game that I wanted us to try before.
Let's have it.
Let's
have it.
So I'm going to call out a bunch of things from the show. And I guess just in general from the world of outrageous wealth. And we're going to decide if they are a flex or a gimmick, if they are cool or tacky. Are we ready?
That's a very fun game.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Number 1, tennis.
Tennis as a concept, it's a flex.
Country club, specifically country club tennis that people are taking very seriously.
Gimmick.
Oh, okay.
It's part of the package.
Flex.
It's part of the package. So it's flex? Okay.
How was you getting to Princeton?
That's what I'm saying.
That's why it's a gimmick.
Oh my God. Okay, next up, cocaine. Should we just skip that one?
Mommy, I'm scared.
Nothing to say. Okay, next, country clubs on their own. Just country clubs as a concept.
Gimmick.
Man, I don't like.
Man.
Can't lie. I don't like.
What are you
I don't like
actually
all
paying
those
for?
things.
See how quickly they were ready to drop him, by the way.
But see
once he
what
got
Coop
into
said.
some legal
See what
troubles.
Coop said. Coop was like, we're literally paying to come
Like, you
here
were happy
pay
to
for
take my money.
overpriced stuff.
It's like,
We're
I'm
literally
here
coming
paying for
here
your
to pay for
person.
overpriced stuff.
And you
So
want
it's
to tell me that now I can't pay. I don't have the privilege of giving you my money. Man, get out.
Most exclusive things, they feel so pretentious, man. They feel so pretentious.
Okay. Indoor basketball courts that are inside the house.
Yo, that episode, the injury was nasty.
That was
look,
a nasty injury.
I can't lie. I will be a hypocrite if I say it's a gimmick because I want an indoor gym at some point in my life.
It's not the same though. Gym is not the same as
Gym is different
basketball
to basketball court.
Basketball courts
is very different.
It's not the same thing.
It's very different.
As a former basketball player,
my goat.
Madu.
No, him, not me. Jeez, what the fuck?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I used to play, but still. I thought you were trying to flex, but
no, I was just like, is this where we are now?
Please.
I mean, I used to play like in high school and stuff, but like,
come on.
There we go.
I beg. But like,
come on.
I don't. Not to be old school. There's a thing of playing basketball outside and sweating and under the sun and stuff.
Jesus.
Like the real is part of the game, But yeah, I don't think I can see myself getting an indoor basketball court. I feel like it's
that's the
like
most 35 plus thing you said.
LOL.
Wanted to be outdoors and feel man. We need to stop the gimmicks.
Oh god.
Okay,
Play
next
real
up,
sports.
heated driveways.
Huh?
See, it's such a gimmick that you guys do.
I'm so broke. I didn't even. Yeah,
you
brother.
guys, it's not your radar.
I'm so poor. God damn.
Oh my God. Yes. I sorry to break it to you guys, but there are people who have put heaters underneath the tarmac of their driveways so that they never have to shovel snow.
That's fair enough. Like, so you don't have. That's fair enough.
There are people who have done that. So that's the thing.
You live, but if you're living in. Are they living in? They're living in LA. It's not. There's no winter.
No, this is New York. This show is in New York.
Oh shit! Oh yeah, true. Actually,
but like,
wait. So
it's a gimmick, man. Because like, okay, the floor, a bit the driveway is heated.
I was mixing up two shows I was watching at the same time.
Which show are you
Yeah,
thinking of?
Netflix,
The studio.
No, the studio.
Forever on Netflix. It was in LA.
Oh,
Oh.
first.
So and they had Christmas there.
That's a
So
nice
I'm
show.
like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that was a good show. But-
Okay, custom
yeah,
license
gimmick.
plates. Like
Oh,
CEO
gimmick.
or like
Gimmick.
CEO or easy spelled with the A spelled as a 4.
V2.
that
on
one
the
is val. When you start, like, if you are putting this thing, put it properly. Don't start swapping
I
numbers
can shower
inside.
on
Like,
your plate.
oh my God, not the Akacha.
I got you.
Please cut the cameras.
Okay, next. Tesla Cybertruck.
Ew, give me.
I said you. Oh God. Oh my
It
God.
just reminds me
man.
of there's a video. I don't know if you've
Why are
seen
you
this
carrying
video
that
on Twitter,
Roblox
but
vehicle?
It's who was it? It was when Tinubu. It was when Tinubu went to. I think he went to one of the states. And there's a guy filming it, and he just starts screaming, "Two Cybertrucks! Two Cybertrucks!"
Oh my God. I beg.
Oh my God, bro,
Okay.
that thing is
Next up.
giving Minecraft, man. I hate that car so much. So much.
Yeah, it's definitely a
And
gimmick show.
the sad thing is well, not even the sad thing. I don't care. It represents something way different than anybody intended when the car first came out. Now, let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Making an Instagram account for your dog.
Making an Instagram account for your dog is
Hinged
a.
gimmick.
This is so hilarious because
Yeah,
I
definitely.
I saw one on my TL today.
But you know, people.
I
will still
saw one
do
on
it.
my TL today, so I won't comment.
Madu.
Yoga.
You guys is nice. Come on.
You guys nice.
Okay.
You guys are flex.
You guys
Next
nice.
up.
You guys nice.
Throwing a self-defense class party with hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah, that whole thing was weird.
Absolute gimmick. They were not being serious there.
That was
I don't
actually
want
kind
to
of crazy.
be. I don't want to
It was
be
interesting.
Mr. fighting for the sanctity of martial arts or whatever, but yeah, I don't want to be
But you're
Mr.
gonna
fighting
do
for the
it
sanctity
anyways.
of martial arts. But I was like, what are we
But
really
you're
doing
gonna
here?
do it.
Yeah, like I was just like, what are we really doing here? Like, okay,
Like, did anybody actually even do anything?
did anybody learn a move?
I
Like
don't.
an actual move?
Yeah.
Because I think
yeah.
there was only one point where she was just like, Sam and this person should do whatever, and they just started catfighting. I was like,
Yeah. That was.
yeah.
Foreshadowing is what it was. But with that, thank you to everyone for listening up
Damn.
until this point. Check out everything we recorded recently, from the studio to Hacks Season 4 to all the shows that we covered weekly. It's been quite a year. And yeah, we're probably going to be taking a bit of a break soon. But this has been fun. Thank you to my amazing guests, Chinedu and Ima. We've had quite a run, and I guess this is what happens.
We will be back, hopefully. I beg you guys, listen. I know the episode is chaotic, but help.
Guys, we promise we're
The
very
numbers are the only
serious
thing that
people.
can make them bring us back.
We're very serious
Yes.
people, I promise.
He's right. Definitely like and subscribe everywhere you are listening, and recommend it to a friend. Do not laugh at this chaos alone. Until next time, be well. We'll see you.